Comment on the video, where are people watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. At 6:15 a.m., the Morgan family arrived at Terminal 3 of Horizon International Airport, their hearts racing with anticipation. Evelyn Morgan, a school librarian, clutched her daughter Lily's hand as they navigated the glass corridor. Lily, age 8, bounced on her heels, her pink backpack bobbing with each step. Marcus Morgan, an architect, balanced a carry-on roller bag and a leather tote. They paused briefly before Gate 18, where their Boeing 787 Dreamliner waited on the tarmac, its sleek fuselage gleaming under the early sunlight. With minutes to spare, they joined the boarding line and presented their boarding documents to the gate agent. After a quick scan, they stepped onto the jet bridge. The gentle hum of the aircraft's air conditioning gave way to the soft glow of LED lights inside. A digital sign above the forward doorway read, "Comfort Class," indicating the cabin reserved for passengers who had opted for extra legroom and enhanced amenities. Inside the Comfort Class cabin, rows of seats stretched ahead, each offering 38 inches of pitch and 18 inches of width, ample room for Marcus's long legs to stretch. The seats were upholstered in navy blue leather with silver stitching. In the seat pocket before them, safety cards and a glossy Comfort Class brochure sat neatly. Overhead bins measured 22 inches deep, providing generous storage for carry-on luggage. Evelyn guided Lily to their row, 5D and 5F, and motioned to the sleek armrests. Lily's eyes lit up at the adjustable headrest and the built-in touchscreen. Evelyn clicked the seatbelt buckle into place, ensuring it fit snugly across Lily's lap. "Just like a superhero," Lily whispered. Nearby, Marcus settled into seat 5E and retrieved an in-flight aviation magazine from the pocket. He flipped through glossy pages filled with aircraft profiles, route maps, and travel features. As they settled in, other Comfort Class passengers filtered past, stowing luggage and finding their own seats. A gentle murmur of conversation rose and fell. Cabin crew members in charcoal gray uniforms moved down the aisle, offering bottled water and pre-ordered beverages. A flight attendant paused at the front, checking cabin readiness before the safety demonstration. Lily reached for the touchscreen display, her small fingers exploring the interactive map. She discovered a 12-hour flight time and a plotted course over 3,500 miles. Evelyn smiled and pointed out landmarks. "See that? We'll fly over the Rocky Mountains." Marcus closed his magazine and glanced at his watch, 6:30 a.m. The engines began their low roar as the cabin lights dimmed slightly. A calm excitement filled the space as the aircraft prepared for pushback. Just as they settled, a soft chime signaled the start of boarding. The captain's voice crackled over the PA system, welcoming everyone aboard and promising a smooth flight. The Morgans exchanged a look of excitement, unaware that this serene moment would soon be disrupted. Just after the aircraft's engine settled into a steady hum, Flight Attendant Isabella Hayes emerged from the forward service area, her charcoal gray uniform crisp and her name badge gleaming under the overhead lights. She approached the Morgan family's row with a professional smile. "Good morning," she said, extending her hand for their boarding documents. Evelyn passed them over, and Marcus offered a polite nod. Isabella's expression shifted as she scanned each document on her tablet, then looked up with a hint of impatience. "I'm afraid you're in the wrong cabin," Isabella announced, her tone firm. "These Comfort Class seats are reserved exclusively for elite travelers. According to our system, your tickets are for the economy cabin." She gestured down the aisle toward row 30. "Please gather your belongings and relocate to your assigned seats immediately." Evelyn blinked in surprise. "But we purchased Comfort Class tickets months ago," she replied, voice steady. "Our confirmation clearly states Comfort Class. See here." She held out her printed itinerary. Isabella glanced at the paper but shook her head. "I'm sorry, ma'am. My tablet is the final authority. There appears to have been an error. I must ask you to move." Marcus leaned forward, voice calm but firm. "Isabella, our boarding documents match the seats we selected and paid for. I'd appreciate it if you'd double-check with your supervisor. Isabella's jaw tightened. Sir, I'm following protocol. If you don't comply, I'll have to call airport security. Her eyes flicked toward the galley intercom, and she tapped the side of her tablet as if sending an alert. The sudden threat drew a hush over nearby passengers. A woman in 6A paused mid-adjustment of her blanket. A businessman in 6C lowered his laptop screen. Lily, sensing the tension, hugged her stuffed rabbit tighter, her small frame trembling slightly. Evelyn reached over, placing a reassuring hand on Lily's shoulder. It's okay, sweetheart, she whispered, but her voice wavered. Isabella crossed her arms and took a step back, as though waiting for them to move. I must insist, she repeated. Your tickets are for row 30, seats 30B through 30D. Please proceed there now or face further action. Her words carried the finality of a gavel. The Morgan family exchanged worried glances. Marcus rose slowly, gathering his jacket from the overhead bin. Very well, he said, voice low. We'll move. As they stood, other passengers shifted in their seats, some offering sympathetic looks, others frowning at the disruption. Isabella watched them with an almost clinical detachment, then turned and strode down the aisle. The family hesitated, then began collecting their belongings, the leather tote, the small backpack, Lily's stuffed rabbit. Each movement felt surreal, as if the world had tilted off its axis. Evelyn paused to smooth her skirt and looked back at the comfort class sign overhead. I still don't understand, she murmured. Marcus placed a hand on her back. Let's just get through this and figure it out later. With that, the Morgans stepped into the aisle and made their way toward the economy cabin, their hearts heavy and minds racing with unanswered questions. When the Morgans reached row 30 in the economy cabin, Isabella Hayes hovered nearby, arms crossed. Marcus set down their belongings and presented his smartphone, pulling up the airline's official e-ticket display. The screen clearly labeled, Comfort Class, alongside their names. This is what we booked, he said quietly. Isabella's lips pressed into a thin line as she glanced at the device. My tablet doesn't show that, she replied curtly, then raised her voice. I'm telling you, these seats belong to economy passengers. You must comply. Evelyn stepped forward, voice trembling slightly but determined. Please, Isabella, there has to be a way to verify with your supervisor or the gate agent. We paid extra for these seats, Isabella interrupted, eyes flashing. I've already called the gate agent. He confirmed your tickets are for row 30. Now, if you don't move immediately, I'll have airport security meet us on the jet bridge. She tapped the intercom button on her tablet, her expression steely. Marcus inhaled deeply, fighting the surge of anger rising in his chest. Isabella, there's clearly a mistake. This is our vacation, and we're not going to be pushed around. He leaned in, trying to keep his voice calm. Let's resolve this like adults. You can check with your manager or call customer support. Isabella took a step closer, her posture rigid. No. This is final. Move or I'll call security now. Lily's breathing quickened, and she squeezed her mother's hand. A single tear rolled down her cheek. Evelyn knelt beside her daughter, brushing back a stray curl. Sweetheart, it's okay, she murmured, though her own eyes glistened. Isabella folded her arms, unmoved by the child's distress. You have 2 minutes, she said, glancing at the digital clock above the aisle, before I contact security. A murmur rippled through the surrounding rows. A man in 31B leaned forward, his expression apologetic. A woman in 31D checked her phone, likely texting someone about the commotion. The cabin light seemed to grow brighter, amplifying the sense of scrutiny. Marcus placed a protective hand on Lily's shoulder. Honey, let's stand up, he said softly. Lily nodded, wiping her tears. Isabella stepped back, as if granting permission. Gather your belongings, she said. I'll escort you. Her tone held no compassion. Evelyn lifted Lily's backpack, and Marcus collected the tote and carry-on. Each movement felt weighted, as though they were being led to an unknown fate. Other passengers averted their eyes or watched with curiosity. The Morgans braced themselves, determined to stay calm in the face of an unyielding threat. From the vantage of the executive cabin, 14 rows ahead of the economy section, Derek Sullivan noticed the tension mounting in the aisle. As the regional director for Aerolink Airways, Derek was accustomed to handling customer concerns discreetly and efficiently. Dressed in a tailored navy suit with a discreet Aerolink pin on his lapel, he had been on a business trip to Denver and had boarded the same Boeing 787 Dreamliner only moments earlier. Now, he recognized the raised voices of his crew and the murmurs of passengers, signaling that a situation required his immediate attention. Derek's career at Aerolink had spanned 15 years, beginning as a ramp agent before he worked his way up through operations management. He prided himself on the company's commitment to passenger experience and often volunteered for early morning flights to observe service firsthand. When he learned that the Morgan family, 2 adults and a child, was being asked to relocate without cause, his professional instincts kicked in. He tapped his tablet and sent a brief message to his assistant, who was stationed near the front galley, "Please bring me the boarding manifest and ticket records for rows 5 and 30. He set down his venti latte on the fold-out tray table. Within 2 minutes, his assistant arrived with a printed manifest and a second tablet linked to Aerolink's central reservation system. Derek reviewed the manifest, which clearly listed the Morgan family in row 5, seats D through F, designated as comfort class. He observed the signature blue and silver boarding passes, matching the names Evelyn, Marcus, and Lily Morgan, all confirmed for comfort class travel. Rising from his seat, Derek smoothed the lapels of his jacket and made his way toward the back of the cabin. The soft hum of the Dreamliner's air circulation system underscored the low murmur of anxious passengers. Along the way, he exchanged polite nods with flight attendants and acknowledged a few curious glances from business class travelers. Reaching the boundary between comfort class and economy cabin, he approached flight attendant Isabella Hayes, who stood rigidly by row 30, her arms folded. Evelyn Morgan held Lily close, while Marcus Morgan hovered protectively beside them. Isabella glanced up, surprise flickering in her eyes as she recognized Derek. "Ms. Hayes," Derek began in a calm but firm tone, "I understand there's been a mix-up regarding the Morgan family's seating assignment." He produced the manifest and tablet, holding them out for Isabella to see. According to Aerolink's records, Evelyn, Marcus, and Lily Morgan hold valid comfort class tickets for row 5. Can you explain why you asked them to relocate to the economy cabin? Isabella swallowed, her professional composure wavering. "Sir, my tablet did not display their comfort class status. It showed economy seats. I followed protocol based on the information I had." She gestured toward her tablet, which displayed only economy assignments. Derek took the device, tapped a few commands, and quickly resolved the sync issue. "It appears there was a network glitch affecting the manifest download," he said, handing the tablet back to her. "Your device needed a refresh. This happens occasionally when the signal is weak, especially during pre-departure preparations." As he spoke, the cabin fell silent. Passengers craned their necks to witness the exchange. Derek turned to the Morgans and offered a reassuring smile. "I apologize for the inconvenience. Please allow me to escort you back to your comfort class seats." He extended a hand to Evelyn, who took it gratefully. Lily peeked out from behind her mother, eyes wide with relief. Isabella's cheeks flushed as she processed the revelation. Derek continued, "Ms. Hayes, I need you to offer a formal apology to the Morgans for this misunderstanding. Then, please assist them back to row 5 and resume your duties." His tone was authoritative yet measured, conveying both compassion for the customers and accountability for his team. Isabella nodded stiffly, her shoulders sagging as the weight of the mistake settled in. As Isabella led the Morgans back to their original row, several of her colleagues offered her supportive nods and encouraging glances. A fellow flight attendant handed her a fresh tablet to ensure the manifest was fully updated. Passengers in comfort class watched with quiet approval as the family approached their seats. When they arrived, seat 5E remained empty, the armrest still upright and the seatbelt draped over the cushion, ready to welcome them. At row 5, Isabella knelt before Evelyn and Marcus. "I sincerely apologize for the confusion and distress I caused," she said, her voice soft but clear. "You were in the correct cabin all along." Evelyn accepted the apology with a warm nod. Lily climbed into her seat and hugged her rabbit, casting a shy smile at Isabella. Marcus offered a handshake, which Isabella accepted with gratitude. With the Morgans comfortably reseated, Derek returned to his seat in the executive cabin, feeling the familiar satisfaction of a conflict resolved. He made a mental note to recommend a system-wide software patch to prevent similar glitches in the future. The cabin lights dimmed once more as the engine spooled up for takeoff, and the Dreamliner glided smoothly toward the runway. For the Morgan family, and for Aerolink Airways, the journey could finally proceed as planned. Rachel Kim glanced up from her beverage cart as it rolled past row 7. It was her third flight with Aerolink Airways, and though she had already completed dozens of pre-flight safety checks and passenger briefings, nothing in her training had prepared her for the tense exchange she'd just witnessed between flight attendant Isabella Hayes and the Morgan family. Rachel had been stationed in the rear galley when the commotion began, but the raised voices carried easily through the narrow aisle. Now, after Derek Sullivan intervened, Rachel found herself replaying every moment in her mind. As Rachel passed the comfort class cabin, she saw the Morgans comfortably resettled in their original seats. Lily Morgan was tucked in with her stuffed rabbit, while Evelyn and Marcus exchanged relieved smiles. Isabella stood nearby, adjusting her uniform jacket, her expression guarded. Rachel remembered that during the pre-flight briefing, the manifest had clearly indicated 3 comfort class seats for the Morgans. She had even double-checked her own tablet before takeoff. Something didn't add up. Determined to understand what had happened, Rachel made her way back to the forward service area. Isabella was there, folding a stack of headrest covers and placing them neatly on a shelf. The galley was awash in the soft glow of overhead lights, and the hum of the ventilation system provided a backdrop to their hushed conversation. Rachel cleared her throat. "Isabella, can I ask you something?" Isabella looked up, her eyes narrowing slightly. "What is it, Rachel?" she replied curtly. Her tone carried the weight of someone who didn't appreciate interruptions, especially after what had just transpired. Rachel took a deep breath. "Earlier, when you told the Morgans to move to the economy cabin, I checked the manifest. Their tickets were clearly marked comfort class. I even refreshed my device to be sure. Why didn't your tablet reflect that?" Isabella paused, placing the headrest covers down. "I told you, there was a glitch," she said, waving a hand dismissively. "I didn't have a network connection at that moment. It happens." Her voice was calm but carried a note of finality. She turned back to her tasks, signaling that the conversation was over. But Rachel wasn't satisfied. "I understand glitches happen," Rachel pressed gently. "But the system is supposed to sync automatically once you're connected to the in-flight Wi-Fi. And if there was an error, shouldn't we have a procedure for verifying with a supervisor before asking passengers to relocate?" She folded her arms, watching Isabella's reaction. Isabella sighed and leaned against the galley counter. "Rachel, you're new. I've been doing this for years. You'll learn that sometimes we have to make quick decisions. The captain and regional director have reviewed the manifest and cleared everything up. Let it go." Her tone suggested both impatience and authority. Rachel could see the subtle tension in Isabella's shoulders, as if the veteran attendant was bracing herself against criticism. Rachel nodded slowly, though her mind churned with questions. She didn't want to undermine Isabella in front of the rest of the crew, but she felt a duty to uphold Aerolink's service standards. "I just want to make sure we do right by our passengers," she said quietly. "Especially when a child is involved." Lily seemed so frightened. She glanced toward the cabin, where Lily Morgan was now engrossed in the touchscreen display, oblivious to the aftermath. Isabella's gaze softened for a moment, but then she straightened. "We handled it," she said, voice firm. "Now focus on your duties. We still have service to complete and a long flight ahead." She picked up a stack of service trays and began organizing them. Rachel opened her mouth to respond, but thought better of it. Instead, she turned and rolled her cart back toward row 5, her mind still unsettled. As Rachel resumed her rounds, she resolved to keep a closer eye on the manifest and to speak up if anything seemed off. She believed in transparency and customer care, values that Aerolink touted at every level. But she also knew the importance of teamwork and respecting the chain of command. Balancing those priorities would not be easy. For now, she silently vowed to learn from this incident, and to ensure that no passenger under her care ever felt that same confusion or distress. No sooner had Derek Sullivan returned to his seat in the executive cabin than he realized the situation demanded a higher level of intervention. Although he had resolved the immediate seating error, the incident had escalated beyond a simple glitch. He tapped his tablet and sent an encrypted message through Aerolink Connect, the airline's internal communication platform, to request a live video conference with senior leadership. His message read, "Seat mix-up on Flight 672. Immediate video call requested with Operations HQ." Within minutes, his assistant confirmed that the conference line was ready. Derek stood and approached the forward galley, where Isabella Hayes and the rest of the cabin crew were taking a brief respite. "Attention, everyone," he announced quietly but firmly. "We will be conducting a video call with Operations Headquarters in 5 minutes. Please ensure the galley is clear and your devices are powered." Flight attendants nodded, clearing the area and handing their tablets to him for the call. At 10,000 feet and in the midst of the initial climb, Derek activated the secure Aerolink Connect app on his tablet. The screen displayed the familiar logos of Aerolink's Chief Operating Officer and Vice President of Customer Relations, their video feeds ready to stream. The cabin's lighting dimmed slightly as the system directed the call's audio through the cockpit speakers, ensuring privacy. The announcement tone chimed in the cockpit, and Captain Jonathan Pierce invited Derek aboard. "Derek, join me in the flight deck when you're ready," his voice crackled over the intercom. Derek nodded and proceeded to the cockpit door. Inside, Captain Pierce, a veteran pilot with over 12,000 flight hours, sat in the left seat, his hands folded calmly on the yoke. On the right, a tablet mounted on the console displayed a live video feed of Sophia Nguyen, Aerolink's Vice President of Operations, and 2 other executives. Derek greeted them and provided a concise summary. This morning, Flight Attendant Isabella Hayes directed the Morgan family to relocate from their valid comfort class seats to the economy cabin. I intervened, verified the tickets, and reseated the family. The root cause appears to be a manifest sync error on her device. Sophia Nguyen's image on the screen leaned forward. "Thank you, Derek. We appreciate the quick resolution. However, we need to address the procedural lapse. Isabella's actions violated our passenger service guidelines. We must decide on corrective measures immediately." The COO, observing from a secondary feed, added, "This incident has potential PR implications. We need a clear record and a plan to prevent recurrence." Captain Pierce then addressed the cockpit intercom. "Isabella, please report to the flight deck." A tense minute passed as Isabella climbed the narrow stairs into the cockpit. Her uniform jacket was slightly wrinkled, and her name badge was askew. She entered with a respectful nod but her eyes betrayed uncertainty. Derek gestured to an empty jump seat. Isabella took a seat, glancing at the tablet screen showing the Aerolink executives. Sophia began, her tone measured but firm, "Ms. Hayes, please explain why you insisted the Morgan family relocate despite the manifest indicating comfort class tickets." Isabella inhaled deeply. "I encountered a network glitch on my tablet. I followed protocol based on the information available. I recognize now I should have verified with a supervisor before escalating to security." Her voice quavered as she admitted the oversight. The COO interjected, "We must uphold our standards. You will be relieved of duty for the remainder of this flight and subject to a formal investigation. We will also issue a public apology to the Morgan family and review our manifest sinking procedures." Captain Pierce nodded in agreement. Sophia added, "This record will be documented in our incident log, and we will coordinate with PR to manage any external communications." Isabella bowed her head, tears welling in her eyes. "I understand. I apologize to the Morgan family and to Aerolink Airways for the distress I caused." Her apology, directed through the cockpit intercom, echoed softly in the cabin. Derek concluded the call, and the video feeds disappeared, leaving the cockpit in the quiet hum of flight instruments. Back in the galley, Derek redistributed the tablets and instructed the crew to resume service. Isabella, now free from further duties, stood quietly, watching the cabin. The rest of the flight attendants exchanged sympathetic glances, aware that the balance between protocol and empathy had been starkly highlighted. As the Dreamliner climbed through the clouds, Derek reflected on the swift corporate response, an example of decisive leadership and commitment to passenger trust. Following the tense video conference in the cockpit, Isabella Hayes returned to the comfort class cabin, her uniform jacket unbuttoned and her expression solemn. The cabin lights had been restored to full brightness, but a hush lingered among the passengers. Derek Sullivan, standing at the front of the cabin, raised his hand to capture everyone's attention. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, voice calm but authoritative, "on behalf of Aerolink Airways, I want to sincerely apologize for the inconvenience and distress caused to the Morgan family earlier. We strive for excellence in service, and we fell short today." He continued, "Flight Attendant Hayes will address the family directly to offer her personal apology. We appreciate your patience as we work to ensure your comfort and safety for the remainder of this flight." Derek then returned to his seat in the executive cabin, leaving Isabella to fulfill the request. She drew a deep breath and walked toward row 5, where Evelyn, Marcus, and Lily sat with their belongings stowed and their seats reclined slightly for the descent. Marcus Morgan rose to his feet as Isabella approached. "Ms. Hayes," he said, voice steady but firm, "you humiliated my family without cause. My daughter was frightened, and my wife and I were deeply embarrassed. I expect a public apology for your actions." Isabella looked at him, her eyes glistening under the overhead lights. She paused for what felt like an eternity, then bowed her head. "Mr. and Mrs. Morgan," she began, her voice soft but audible, "I am truly sorry for the confusion and for the way I handled the situation. I regret my failure to verify your tickets and the distress I caused your family." Evelyn Morgan nodded, accepting the apology. Lily gave a small smile, clutching her rabbit. The cabin remained quiet, and a few passengers offered soft applause in support of the family. Isabella straightened, took a step back, and offered a final nod before returning to the galley. The rest of the cabin crew exchanged glances, some relieved that the matter was publicly addressed, others sympathetic to Isabella's emotional state. As the Dreamliner began its initial descent, the flight attendants moved swiftly through the aisles, securing service carts and ensuring all tray tables and seatbacks were in their upright positions. Isabella took her place in the rear jump seat, her name badge reflecting the cabin's warm lighting. She gazed out at the cloud-streaked sky, her heart heavy with regret. Around her, several passengers raised their smartphones, capturing the scene and murmuring among themselves. The weight of being the focal point of a viral incident settled on her shoulders. The aircraft touched down smoothly at Horizon International Airport at 8:47 p.m. Captain Jonathan Pierce's voice came over the intercom, "Welcome to Denver. We've arrived safely. Please remain seated with your seatbelts fastened until the seatbelt sign is turned off." As the seatbelt sign blinked off, a pair of uniformed airport security officers stepped onto the jet bridge and entered the cabin near row 30. They approached Isabella, who rose from her jump seat, smoothing her skirt as she walked down the aisle. Passengers watched in silence as Isabella was escorted off the aircraft, her head bowed and her posture stiff. A chorus of camera clicks and whispered commentary followed her exit. On the jet bridge, the security officers informed her that Aerolink Airways had terminated her employment effective immediately. Isabella offered no resistance, though her shoulders shook slightly. She stepped onto the jet bridge and was guided away, disappearing from view. By the time the Morgans disembarked, multiple passengers had already uploaded video clips to social media. Within an hour, hashtags referencing Aerolink incident were trending on several platforms. News outlets quickly picked up the story, broadcasting the video of Isabella's apology and subsequent escort from the aircraft. Aerolink's public relations department, led by Derek Sullivan, released an official statement acknowledging the error, praising the family's composure, and outlining steps to prevent similar incidents in the future. For Isabella Hayes, the night ended with more than just the loss of her job. The viral nature of the incident meant her mistake would be scrutinized by thousands, if not millions, online. As the media cycle turned, Aerolink Airways moved to contain the fallout, but the narrative of discrimination and service failure had already taken root. The events of the day would become a case study in crisis management and customer relations, one that began with a simple seating error and ended with a woman's career in tatters. 2 weeks had passed since the incident aboard Flight 672, and Isabella Hayes sat at her small kitchen table, her hands wrapped around a lukewarm cup of black coffee. Sunlight filtered through the blinds, illuminating a stack of rejection emails on her laptop screen. She had applied to 3 other major carriers and a regional shuttle service, but each reply had been polite yet definitive: "We regret to inform you that we will not be moving forward with your application." The headlines and social media clips, millions of views, had clearly followed her. Isabella attempted to console herself by reminding herself that one mistake should not define her entire career. Yet everywhere she turned, the outcome was the same. During her second interview, she sensed the HR manager's hesitation as soon as her name appeared on the application. In the days after the incident, Aerolink's public apology had acknowledged her error but also underscored the company's zero-tolerance policy for misjudgment. The implication was clear: she was a cautionary tale, not a valued employee. Each rejection stung more than the last. She thought back to the moment she first saw the Morgan family's tickets. The network glitch had been genuine, but her decision to threaten security had been callous. She had been so focused on following protocol that she had lost sight of empathy. Now, her professional reputation lay in tatters, and her confidence had evaporated. She felt trapped in a cycle of self-reproach, replaying the scene in her mind at odd hours of the night. Isabella often found herself drifting to memories of Lily Morgan's tearful face. The little girl's trembling shoulders haunted her, a reminder of the real human impact of her actions. She imagined how she might have handled the situation differently. Listening patiently, verifying quietly, and involving a supervisor before issuing threats. The regret was a constant companion, urging her to seek redemption but also deepening her sense of shame. In an effort to move forward, Isabella attended a local hospitality networking event. She dressed carefully in a navy blazer and tailored skirt, hoping to project professionalism and resilience. Yet when she introduced herself, she noticed subtle changes in people's expressions. Invitations to follow up were politely withdrawn, and polite conversation ended abruptly. Word had clearly spread through industry circles, and her presence had become a liability rather than an asset. At night, Isabella opened a leather-bound journal and began to write. She poured out her remorse and her determination to learn from the ordeal. She acknowledged her failure to balance protocol with compassion and pledged to rebuild her career with humility. The page filled with ink as she mapped out plans for customer service courses, communication workshops, and a sincere apology letter she hoped one day to deliver in person to the Morgans. But for now, she could only sit in her apartment, coffee in hand, reflecting on the day a simple seat assignment changed the course of her life forever.